The title of this video is not a clickbait. The Marvels is expected to be a complete financial catastrophe and possibly even the lowest grossing MCU movie ever in 15 years. Unless this movie has a phenomenal word of mouth like Elemental, which is highly unlikely since Elemental was genuinely a good movie and The Marvels is not so much. The failure of this movie can potentially cause a tectonic shift in the Marvel studio. The Multiverse Saga that has been planned and announced years ago might not even exist. Too many problems now. But let's talk about the Marvels first. Going to the theater, I fully expected this movie to be completely terrible. Quantumania level of terrible, if not even worse than that, if that's possible. And Quantumania is one of the absolute worst movies that I've seen this year. Not the worst because, well, the Flash still exists. However, I found the Marvels somewhat funny and even weirdly enjoyable. Yes, it's not a good movie and I have to agree with most of the criticism. Dar-Ben is a terrible underwritten character. Actually, it feels like there was an entire arc between Dar-Ben and Carol Danvers in the movie that we didn't even see. I am convinced that instead of Shang-Chi or instead of Eternals, there should have been a Captain Marvel 2 movie, which should have been about the war between Skrulls and the Kree Empire, and the role that Carol Danvers played in it, as well as the story of Dar-Ben. At the end, Carol destroys the Supreme Intelligence, plunging Hala into chaos and darkness, and turning Dar-Ben into Carol's mortal enemy. This movie should have happened instead of Shang-Chi. With all due respect to Shang-Chi, I enjoyed that movie a lot when it was released, but I am certain this character has no future in the MCU whatsoever, and we won't hear from him again. As much as I would like to see both him and Awkwafina in a movie again. The Marvels feels almost criminally short. There has been a lot of stuff cut out of this movie. A lot of stuff was added after reshooting. I honestly don't understand. Hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds if not thousands of people involved. And yet they still can't shoot a decent movie that feels like a movie, so they have to spend another $100 million to reshoot. In the end, we have a weird 90-minute movie-like essence that costs $270 million. I wish we could get a director's cut with deleted scenes, but we're not gonna have it since nobody's asking, let's be honest. The CGI in this movie is mostly decent, not great but much better than in Quantumania, which is a very low bar for high-budget movies. The second Pirates of the Caribbean movie released in 2006 looks infinitely better than any MCU movie, especially these days. That's a huge problem. We don't really need to look that far. The creator released this year looks infinitely better than the Marvels, with 3 times smaller budget. If you're gonna invest tons of money in visual effects instead of story, it will make the movie look visually spectacular, instead of being satisfied with an absolutely generic and boring look. But I must admit space scenes look pretty cool, as well as different worlds that we see in the movie, even though they are all just generic looking medieval sci-fi worlds. I really don't understand why these highly advanced civilizations that can travel through countless star systems have to build their cities like they live in ancient Mesopotamia. This looks good in movies like Blade Runner. In Blade Runner, the Tyler Corporation headquarters intentionally looks menacing like a titan looming over Los Angeles. It is a stylistic choice to make the building look similar to ancient Mesopotamian or ancient Egyptian pyramids to inspire awe and fear in regular people. In the MCU, this architecture has no purpose whatsoever. Headquarters in Blade Runner has an important narrative role. In the MCU, visual representation is almost non-existent, and the designs and architecture don't matter. The singing scene was pretty entertaining, albeit bizarre, but bizarre in a good way, I'd say. Unlike Hala. I know this is not science fiction, it's just cosmic opera, but this planet survives almost without atmosphere, without water, and with a sun that lost its energy. That's kind of too much, to be honest. That's almost as crazy as the Starkiller base in Star Wars The Force Awakens. The base could harness the energy of the star and then destroy the star systems across the galaxy in a matter of minutes, if not seconds, disregarding the most basic laws of physics. The Marvels get pretty close to this. Carol is still overpowered, but her power works in strange ways. She has enough power to reignite the freaking star. She travels through space much faster than even light, but she can't beat Thanos. She can't even beat Dar-Ben either. The switching places concept is pretty cool, however at times when characters use their powers it works. They do switch places, at times they don't. There is no system, it works really randomly. This whole switching places thing just feels like a convenient plot device to launch the story. How else would Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan be involved in a feud between Dar-Benn and Carol Danvers? Humor in this movie is okay, some jokes are genuinely funny, some are pretty absurd, nothing too terrible. No reality questioning Modok moments. That's at least something. Speaking of technical issues, this movie has a weird montage. The way the camera switches between characters and how fights are shot and edited is very unpleasant. I believe any movie with a budget bigger than $1 million should be able to have a proper montage. The fight should have looked very cool. The concept that any time the three main characters use their powers they swap places could become a fantastic and imaginative action sequence. But we got a very generic and poorly edited action sequence instead. The MCU touches on a lot of serious things such as genocide, imperialism, displacement, but hardly explores anything in fear of getting too serious. Iman Vellani is by far the best part of the movie. Her enthusiasm carries the story. It looks like she genuinely enjoys just being there. Her enthusiastic energy and presence bleed into every aspect of this movie. She's been perfect both in this movie and in her own show Miss Marvel. Too bad that her fate in this franchise seems to be quite uncertain as of today. The ending teases Young Avengers. At this point I really doubt we'll see this movie. The Marvels is definitely bombing at the box office. There is a huge probability that Disney will completely change its plans and completely scrap a lot of projects. The Marvels bombed because there was very little interest in seeing these characters. Not many people like Captain Marvel. Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan only debuted on the big screen. They also don't keep up with MCU shows, saw them for the first time. Who can guarantee that Young Avengers won't suffer the same fate? It's Marvel's problem that they couldn't make people interested in all these new characters. Nobody cares about Cassie Lang or about Kate Bishop. There is very little interest in them and in their stories, just like in Thunderbolts. Whatever Feige has been planning must undergo cosmetic surgery because MCU is under a big risk. Post-credit scene of The Marvels teases X-Men. From now on the MCU should double down on X-Men, Spider-Man, and of course the Fantastic Four. Because of criminal charges against Jonathan Majors, Marvel might even cancel Kang Dynasty altogether and make Doctor Doom a new big villain instead. Which I honestly doubt because Disney can always just fire Majors and recast Kang. Luckily there are countless variants of Kang from different universes out there, and they don't all look the same, so Disney can just hire someone who looks similar to Majors and present him as one of the variants. Next year we're not getting any MCU movies. If we don't count Deadpool 3 of course, which technically is in the MCU I guess, but still feels like its own thing. Maybe the movie will change this perception once and for all. This break between the Marvels and the new Captain America movie should be useful so that Feige could recharge and reload this franchise with a clearer direction and vision. A lot of characters that were introduced already such as Shang-Chi and the Moon Knight probably won't reprise their roles again, for better or worse. One thing for sure is that something's gotta give. As usual I am Equestria Guy. See you again.